I'm not afraid of Donald Trump running again in 4 years. I'm afraid he's going to run again and lose, because he can do this again.
That is a powerful point that those who acquit will have to own. That's why they are on trial here every bit as much as the former president. He could absolutely do this again. He may do it as soon as they tell him that he is acquitted. Can't lose sight of how consequential the vote will be. Impeachment is about preventing that type of activity. They're going to do the opposite and potentially encourage it. Okay? Now, what does that mean? Well, if he gets to run for future office, that could be in play, but it could be in play anyway. So let's get a feel for where things stand. Juror and Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen. Senator, thank you for taking time on such heavy days to join us.
Chris, it's good to be with you.
So, Senator, do I know all I need to know by the fact that Cruz, Lee, and Paul met with defense counsel today to help them with their case in terms of where your Republican brothers and sisters have their heads and hearts on this?
Yes, now they're conspiring with Trump's defense counsel to, put on the defense. I mean, these are the jurors saying that they're going to collaborate to put on the defense. And we saw, I think you mentioned that the tweet from Lindsey Graham, saying that they found today's manager's case offensive, when what's offensive is the fact that Donald Trump sent an angry mob down to the Capitol to beat up and spit on Capitol Hill police officers for the purpose of overturning an election. They should focus on that.
You ever talked to Lindsey Graham? Do you know him at all?
I do know Lindsey Graham. I have not talked to him recently. I talked to him for a while. It's like the invasion of the body snatchers. I mean, he has, it seems to me, lost any sense of moral purpose if he ever had one. But he clearly has lost it on this, especially, now joining the QAnon conspiracy theory, somehow blaming Nancy Pelosi for the attack on the Capitol, people who wanted to openly assassinate her. I mean, it's gone to a different level of absurdity.
I'm just saying, if he has any friends, I mean, people should check and see if he's okay. I mean, these aren't like kind of political pivots. This is like schizophrenia that he has going from like one day until like 4 or 5 later. Do you think that these Republican colleagues of yours understand the risk of the signal this may well send? This acquittal will immediately be a victory and immediately will be an echoed empowerment signal to the people who believe they did the right thing in the first place by attacking and trying to find you and kill you.
That is the big danger here, because we know, President Trump, when asked about it, he said everything he did was appropriate. And we also know that the violent mob, when they were heading home on airplanes and other means, were celebrating. They thought it was a great day. In fact, Donald Trump told them, remember this day in history. And that is exactly the danger, because if he is not held accountable, we have just lowered the bar as low as it can go on what a president can do in terms of committing crimes against the Constitution and get away with it. And Chris, I remember time after time, Republican senators saying, let's just let this Donald Trump action pass, and next time he'll have learned from his lesson. Well, if Republican senators haven't learned by now when they were under attack, they never will.
How do you work with these guys after this? I mean, you all could have gotten done dirty if they had found you. And these guys are willing, men and women, are willing to give Trump another pass, even though you were the targets. How do you work with people like that when you know that fealty to him is way more important than loyalty to any job they seem reluctant to do?
Well, Chris, I have to tell you, those of us on the Democratic side of the aisle, as we listen to the evidence, we also spend a lot of time looking across the aisle, trying to look into the eyes of, Republican senators to try to understand what they're thinking. And I will say, it is very difficult to understand how a fellow American can reach a conclusion that's totally inconsistent with the facts and the law here. So look, we're in the middle of a pandemic. President Biden is working hard to pass the American Rescue Act. I certainly am going to work as hard as I can and with anybody who wants to work together to get that passed. Right now, we don't see many Republicans wanting to join us as partners in that. So that's why we have set up the budget resolution or the reconciliation process. But I will work with whoever wants to help solve the pandemic and beat the pandemic, get the economy going again. But the answer to your question is a very difficult one, I think, for all of us.
I mean, yeah, I don't know why you think they'd work with you on that kind of stuff if they're willing to close their eyes to what happened. I mean, they were the targets. You were one of the lucky, relatively. When you were coming back, Capitol Police got you and said, hey, don't go that way. You got to go back towards the office and take cover there. But when you think about that day and what could have happened, what comes to mind? What hits you in the head and heart?
What hits me in the head and heart, Chris, is the fact that our Capitol was under attack. These individual members' lives were at risk. The Capitol Police were out there putting themselves on the line to protect our democracy and these fellow members of the Senate. And they owe those Capitol Police officers and they owe the country the truth, not the big lie. They for too long went along with the big lie. President Trump admitted in that tweet late on the afternoon of January 6th that these things happen when an election is stolen. It was just earlier that day that he said the election was stolen. So for anybody to argue this was not foreseeable to Donald Trump, he told the country himself it was, after for hours refusing to do anything about it, not lift a finger, as you said. So look, what I get very angry about what's happening. I get angry about what happened that day to our democracy and our Capitol, and I get angry at those who refuse to defend our Constitution and our democracy.
Well, thank you, Senator, for your perspective here and for trying to induce some reason into people on the other side. It can't just be worth it for a job. And for co-introducing the bill to award Officer Eugene Goodman, made famous and rightly so by what we've seen of him, African-American officer directing the mob away from where senators were and where there were collection points, saving Romney and others, that you nominated him, co-introducing the bill for the Congressional Gold Medal for him. That is at least one way to seize on something that wasn't abjectly terrible about that day. Good luck to you and stay safe.
I hope we can pass that unanimously tomorrow. That's my hope.
If that doesn't pass unanimously, all is lost. So hopefully it does. Democrats do need 17 from the other side, though, to get a conviction of what is so obvious. Remember, that's why we've never lived through anything like this before. There's not even a question. So, what's the over-under on who might flip? And before you say nobody, remember what the presumption is. Well, they don't want to lose in the primary. Wait until you hear what the Wizard of Oz has to tell you about how many people who are going to vote are safe. Next.